What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And I know I missed the Danny Masterson wave, right? But please stick with me just a few minutes. You're going to want to hear this. That last wave was equal parts entertaining and just nonsense, a bunch of fabricated stories, to be quite honest. And that's fine, right? Folks do what they do. Over here, we really try to tell the truth. And here's some facts about Danny Masterson and where he is, and more importantly, who he's with. Because I think he is housed with perhaps the most dangerous dude doing time in the state of California, in for particular for people with weirdo charges, right? And I'll explain why. So, as we know, Danny Masterson is at CMC. You can look him up on the inmate locator. That's where he's at. And CMC has been talked about by a lot of people as being a soft joint, right? Not a real serious prison, a real relaxed place to do time. And I'll admit that's what I've always heard about CMC also. So when I heard people saying that, I just, I agree, right? That's what I always heard. Um, and I thought that to be true, but now I get this information and we know CDC has changed a lot over the years, right? It's not the same as when any of us were doing time in a lot of ways. And so check this out. I'm really surprised at who's there. So for one, Todd Ashker is there, right? The guy from the Ashker settlement to end solitary confinement in California Department of Corrections, former Aryan Brotherhood member. But that's not who I'm talking about. But it's interesting that he's also at CMC, right? You can look it up. But there's this guy, John Lydon, right? So John Lydon, like I said, I think he is the most dangerous, and this is why. And he has a crazy story that stretches back years. I'm not going to get into all that right now. Maybe some other day. I'm just trying to get this out to you guys really quick. I think it's interesting. So in 2001, John Lydon gets sentenced to 50 to life out of LA County, right? He's from Boston. He's from the East Coast. Catches some charges in Santa Monica with a Hollywood producer stuff. Gets 50 to life. They wind up getting dropped down to 25 to life, and he goes to prison, right? So fast forward a couple years. In 2004, he's in Pleasant Valley State Prison. While he's in Pleasant Valley State Prison, he ends the life of an individual named Philip Kunkel, right? Who's a chomo, right? And that's why he eliminates him, right? Is because of those charges. So then he goes out to court. He picks up another 15 to life out of Fresno County for that. So after that, he's single cell status, because that dude was a cellie, right? So he's single cell status after that, which is pretty normal when you've eliminated a cellie. Fast forward just a handful of years, uh, and somehow for some reason he's at Tracy. He's at DVI in June of 2010. Okay, and he's on single cell status. Also at Tracy is this guy Jonathan Guy Alexander, who had come there in March of 2010 to do a 6-month violation, but he has multiple prior convictions of unmentionable offenses, right? To children, women, whatever. So he is also single cell status because of his charges, right? Even though he's on a violation, I don't know what the violation is, but his commitment offenses are those types of things. So he's single cell status also. Captain Lozano comes and tells Mr. Lydon, right, John Lydon, hey, I'm gonna move you in with somebody. Lydon says, hey, man, I'm single cell status. He goes, I don't care what you are. I run this prison and I decide who's gonna sell up with who. And I'm telling you, I'm gonna move you in somewhere. And he says, okay, fine. You can sell me up to any race, any person, just not people with those kinds of charges, right? Just anybody but them. Captain says, no problem. Puts him in a cell with Jonathan Guy Alexander. What happens in a very short period of time, like maybe an hour, a couple hours, Jonathan Guy Alexander is no more, right? He's had a rough time with a bed sheet, and his game is over. And so they come in there, they pull out Kunkel. A guy asks him while he's down in the holding case, hey man, did you really do that because of that guy's charges? And he goes, yeah, I did. Now there winds up being a lawsuit from the Chomo's family saying that it wasn't safe, unfair. They put him in a bad position. Um, and there's multiple inmates at Tracy who testify and write declarations that say the COs over there, they'll tell you who's got those funny charges. They celebrate folks for getting off on them. They'll actually punish you if they put you in a cell or they give you action at them and you don't take advantage of it. They'll take your property and slam you down, right? Like you'll get punished if you don't handle business when you're around those kind of guys. And that, yeah, that's just kind of the way that it goes there. And that they assume that this guy Alexander was one of them guys because he was an older white guy with no tattoos that kept to himself. Now that's a cold description right there. Just for the record, I saw some older white guys in prison with no tattoos that kind of kept to themselves, and I really doubt that they had those types of charges. But nonetheless, that's what they say, right? So he goes back to court, right? So he's got his 25 to life, then he's got his 15 to life out of Fresno. Now he catches another hot one. He's going to court in Stanislaus County, and the DA pursues it as a capital offense, right? Pursues it as a death penalty case. Not out of, the DA had to be was very outgoing and very open that, hey, I'm not doing this out of sympathy for the victims, okay? I'm going after this because this individual has proven that they have the desire and the capacity to eliminate people. And that presents a management threat to guards, because what if one day he feels that way about a CO? Obviously, he's about that life and he will do it. And this is his second time doing it in prison. And he was a lifer when he came in. So he's just a management issue. He's a security threat. And this is the consequence he should face. So he goes to trial in January 2013, right? It takes a while. A month later, he gets found guilty and he gets sentenced to death row. But that is 7 years after the feds put a moratorium on the death penalty in California, which oddly enough also had to do with somebody with those types of charges who had faced a death penalty and whatnot. So it's a whole separate thing, but there was no more of that penalty in California. So, you know, he's out on the yard. He's doing his thing. So fast forward again, because he's not done. Right? Fast forward again. Last year, right? Actually, earlier this year, January 6, 2024. And Lydon is a part of the California model in the Salinas Valley State Prison on D facility, right? Where they got EOP dudes and JCats, and they tell them play foosball. Hector Bravo talks a lot about it on his channel, that prison guard. I've talked about it. And so he's over there. And while he's over there, I don't think this person was his cellie. I think he just heard that they were in the building. But he walks over, he goes into a guy's cell, and then he leaves the cell. And when they go back and look in the cell, they find an individual by the name of Son Tran, who is deceased, right? And based on video surveillance, they know, okay, that was Lydon. Plus, that's his MO, right? So this dude has caught 3 bodies in the California Department of Corrections in the 2000s. Like, it's 2024. He's been down since, mid to late 2020 or 2001. So like a little over 20 years, he's caught 3 bodies. Where's he at now? After catching a hot one in Salinas Valley in January of 2024, it's now March of 2024, and he is in CMC. So this dude, Lydon, the one you see in the thumbnail, you can tell by his picture, he's not all the way there, right? He, for all intents and purposes, he is at the same prison as Danny Masterson. So for all these videos talking about these X and Y gangs and these dudes and those dudes and GBG, BBC, elemental P guys, it's somebody like this who really poses a threat, right? Because this dude's not extorting, he's not robbing, he's not turning a blind eye, he's not minding his own business. Now, granted, the people that he's gone after have, to the best what I can tell, have always had offenses in terms of younger people, right? Whereas as Masterson has offenses in terms of women who I believe were adults. Tomato kind of, right? In the sense of its predatory behavior, it's going after, defenseless people. It's all disgusting. It's all stuff that should get you blasted off a yard, right? Period. And this dude Lydon, he ain't no GP guy. He's floating around yards where those individuals are. and he's getting them. And his story is, again, I'm not going to get into it all, but when he was a kid over there in Boston, he went to a Catholic school, and there was a priest named John Gilgan who wound up getting, yoked out in prison in 2002, 2003, where he went for a series of offenses against children. He was like one of the first big name priests for the whole scandal, right? This dude, John Lydon, was exposed to that priest when he was 9 years old. So that's where it comes from, right? He doesn't like guys that like guys, and he doesn't like people that like children. That's what he does, right? On the streets and in prison, that's who he goes after, and it is what it is. So yeah, that's a real time update. You can look all these people up in Inmate Locator and find out where they're housed at. They're all right there, and so thought it'd be a little interesting tidbit for you guys. Again, not a huge lesson, not a huge moral story. Don't do things like that to women and children. Otherwise, you might go to prison and think that you're safe on those yards. And then here comes John Leiden, and he got that look in his eye. Well, he's coming for you, right? So, anyways, help others move with excellence, man. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. Stay tuned to the content. This isn't normally my kind of thing, but I'm working on some big stuff. It's just taking some time to get it all put together and packaged in a way that kind of makes sense for you guys. So I thought I'd throw you this little bone in the meantime, man. Little something, hopefully make you smile, to be quite honest. All right, guys, take care.